You are watching Joseph TV Show, the place to be. So guys, don't forget to leave the comment down below there to share widely with your family and friends too.
Today's GDP numbers show that Donald Trump is running America the same way he ran his businesses, into the ground. Before our very eyes, Donald Trump's policies of tariffs and tax hikes are strangling the economy. Donald Trump's first 100 days have been defined by one big F word: failure. Donald Trump's first 100 days have been defined by an F word: failure. Failure on the economy, failure to lower costs, failure on foreign policy, failure on democracy, failure everywhere you look. Donald Trump must admit his failure and reverse course, and immediately fire his economic team. Otherwise, we'll see more of the same: failure and chaos and total incompetence. One of the traits of a dictator is someone hostile to all forms of accountability, to all forms of criticism. That is Donald Trump to a T. He's scared of debate, he's scared of opposition, he can't stand the ideas of others disagreeing with him. So instead, he tries to crush anything he views as opposition. That is not strength. That's a sign of deep, deep, deep insecurity.
50 days from today, Donald Trump must, by law, fire Elon Musk. Last night, 76 House Democrats sent a clear message to President Trump. The clock is ticking. Since the beginning of this administration, Trump and Musk have exploited Musk's designation as a so-called special government employee to allow Musk to receive over $8 million a day in federal government contracts and subsidies while ignoring our conflict of interest rules and while funneling more and more money to himself and to his companies. But the law is crystal clear. A special government employee like Musk must leave the federal government after 130 days. We would be here for hours if I tried to recount every single one of Musk's illegal actions or abuses or attacks on working Americans, but let me give you just a few. In his 80 days in power, Elon Musk has fired more veterans from the federal government than anyone else in history. Elon Musk has fired independent watchdogs that were investigating his own companies for corruption and for breaking the law. Elon Musk called Social Security a Ponzi scheme, tried to shut down the phone lines that seniors use to get their checks. They degraded the system so much that we were being warned that it was on the verge of crashing and collapse. No more running cabinet meetings, no more running the White House. That is our demand, and we are making it clear that we are putting every option on the table: legislative, legal, and public pressure, and making it clear to the president that he's got 50 days.
There's a message to Donald Trump. Hey, Trump, you see all these folks behind me, all hard-working Mexican Americans? I know we all look alike to you, but these folks were born and raised here and working hard to make our economy grow. And the migrants that sometimes come alongside and work with these folks, whether it's this industry or the meatpacking or any other, they're here because they know how to work. You've never worked a day in your life, and you don't know what it takes to build this country. So you can take your work site raids that you and Tom Homan want to do and go shove them up your ass. Because at the end of the day, our economy is driven by people like this and by migrants and by so many others that simply want to come out here and come into this country and do well for themselves and their families.
So guess who blinked? It wasn't the US, China did. Almost immediately after the United States raised our tariff against China to 245%, China was on the phone saying, we want to talk to you guys about trade. First, it was Japan this week. Yesterday, it was Italy. And today is South Korea. Next in line might be China. China's gonna win. The United States has only been around for 200 something years. China's been alive for 5,000. Bro, stop. It's just so funny that everybody's like, oh, the US is about to blink. Right now, China's like this. And you want to know why? Because regardless of how long they've been around, they've never been around a country that is not going to back down the way the US is taking a stand today. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear how China had contacted the EU, had contacted Japan, had contacted Korea, had contacted all of these individuals that are now setting up appointments with the United States about trade. Somehow the world thought all the nations would run to China to seek agreement, and the exact opposite happened. The EU had one conversation with China and they're like, you know what? Yeah, we can't do this. We're going to go make friends with the United States again. The UK, like, you know what? We're going to try to team up with China because we got to teach the US a lesson. Now the UK wants to talk to the United States again. So much for being around for 5,000 years, huh? And I could almost guarantee the individuals that are going to be in my comment section like, no, China knows what they're doing. The US called them. No, bro, the US didn't call them. China called us. Because for some reason, China thought Biden was still in office. He thought Kamala Harris was still vice president. That ain't what that's not what's happening today. So once again, a younger nation, 1. 5,000-year-old nation, 0.
The fake news, of which many of you are members, is trying to convince the public to have a recession. Let's have a recession. The United States is doing phenomenally well. But one thing I have to do is economically take on China, because China has been ripping us off for many years. President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama and others should have done this long before me. My life would be much easier, although I enjoy doing it, but my life would be much easier if I just said, let China continue to rip off the United States, all right? It'd be much easier, but I can't do that. We are winning against China. They've lost 2.5 million jobs in a very short period of time. They want to make a deal. It's got to be a deal that's good for the United States. Where they want to make a deal, probably we will make a deal. But if I didn't do that, and I'm not doing this, somebody said it's Trump's trade war. This isn't my trade war. This is a trade war that should have taken place a long time ago by a lot of other presidents. Over the last 5 or 6 years, China's made $500 billion. 500 billion, ripped it out of the United States. And not only that, if you take a look, intellectual property theft, add that to it, and add a lot of other things to it. So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry, I was put here by people. I was put here by people to do a great job, and that's what I'm doing. And nobody's done a job like I've done. Now, would China rather wait for a little more than a year and try and get sleepy Joe Biden to negotiate with instead of President Trump? Maybe, but I don't think so. You know why? They're losing too many jobs too fast. They had the worst year in 27 years, but I think it was actually 52 or 54 years. It's the worst year they've had in a half a century, and that's because of me. And I'm not proud of that, but you know what? They want to negotiate, and Sleepy Joe doesn't have a clue. Sleepy Joe said, oh, China's wonderful. Well, China is wonderful for China, but I'm wonderful for the USA.
If American manufacturers could make real money in the US, they would have already done it already. Let's be honest, even when they bring factories back to the United States, it's not gonna be for the jobs. It's always for the capital. It's always for the gains. Everything will be automated. The bots don't need healthcare. The bots don't need lunch break. And yeah, people love blaming China, cheap labor this, unfair advantage that. But it's not just about wages. It's about infrastructures, high-speed trains, massive road networks, and dormitories for workers, and way less red tapes. China built to build. The US plays catch up while corporations chase stock price. Trump thought he can bully China into submission with tariffs, I think that's cute. The people in charge here in China right now, most are born in or before 80s. Most of us grew up with nothing. We were poor. I remember in the 80s, no toilet at home. I don't have a toilet in my family. We had to walk to a public washroom in the middle of the night. We are so used to struggle, we don't fall under pressure. We are thriving in it. This trade war is not gonna hurt China the way you think. It's gonna hurt US small businesses. And when they go down, big corporation going to buy them up. In the end of the day, you will be working for Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk while still blaming China. Go ahead, tell me wrong.
Till next time, guys.